Welcome to SOFREP Radio. I am your host, Rad, and I have the special privilege to hang out and talk with Dino Garner, ranger, photographer, all around human. And how are you today?
Hey, man, I'm good. Rad, it's good to be here. Thank you so much.
Hey, we're very excited to have you on. When I found out you were going to be the guest, and I started to look into you and find out. Okay, first of all, let's talk about Top Gun, this book that I found that you have. Okay, let's
Yep.
just dive into it. You're a photographer. I love photographers. I know some f-stops, some macro lenses, and some telephoto lenses. But my man, in the years that you were doing photography
Yep.
in the back of these machines, you were needing to know the light, the speed, the film. I mean, you're doing it hand, right? I mean, tell me more. Let's hear it.
Well, first, I taught myself photography in the back seat of an F4, F14, A4, F15, F16, FA18. And because I had never taken pictures before, except, those little silly selfies we did in ninth grade with those Minolta cameras that are, the wide ones, thin, like pancakes. And
With the square flash on them and whatnot.
yeah, man. And so, I only wanted to fly just one time. I never set out to be in military aviation photographer. Never. It wasn't. It wasn't in on any of my lists. It wasn't in any of my dreams. And I just wanted to fly one time in the F4, the same aircraft my dad flew in Vietnam. He was a Air Force fighter pilot, so I grew up in the atmosphere for decades. And the first gig I got was at well, first I saw Top Gun, the movie, 26 times in a theater in Los Angeles. Because I was a scientist at the
Of
time,
course.
biophysics at University of Southern California. And I was, I was just enamored. I was floored by the movie. I mean, who watches a movie 26 times in a theater? That's kind of stupid. Back then, I mean, it cost maybe
It
50
just pulled
cents.
you in.
It did. It just sucked you right in. And I said, I want
Right,
to do
right.
that
What
just
is that,
one
like
time.
84?
Yeah, that one,
Is that like
86, summer of
1984, right?
86, summer of 86.
86.
And I
Yeah,
said,
okay.
and then after that, I said, I want to fly one time. So I called the Air Force's equivalent of Navy's Top Gun, and the Air Force, it was the Fighter Weapons School at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. And I sent a polite letter and asked them if I could fly and not take pictures, but if I could fly and do an article for a magazine. And they sent a polite reply, no, you can't fly in our aircraft, but you're welcome to come out. And I did.
Right.
And I'm glad I did, because the commandant, who was a full colonel, he gave me a tour and also an hour-long lecture in like 1,000-seat lecture hall, and he and I were the only ones there. And he just very casually dropped this. He said, "Oh yeah, I knew your dad in Vietnam. He took me on my first combat missions." And
Oh,
so
wow.
nepotism got me a lot of access to all the places I went to, but I didn't
Like
ask
Top
for it.
Gun.
Yeah, that's right, man. I didn't ask
Yeah.
for it. I didn't plan on it. People just knew my dad, and then they knew people that I knew. So I didn't get to fly there at the U.S. Air Force Fighter Weapons School, but Colonel Russ Everts, the commandant of the school, wrote a beautiful letter of recommendation on my behalf, and I took that to other units. And one of them said yes. It was a
Sure.
California F4 unit in March Air Force Base. And they said, yeah, sure, come out and fly. And so I went out there and went through altitude training, and they they outfitted me with flight suit and other things. I wore my dad's helmet from Vietnam.
Like a G suit, right? Like that
That's
green,
right.
the
Yep,
green
G
G
suit.
suit, right? That
Yeah,
like that's right. That's
it,
what it is. So
yeah.
it keeps your blood flow and everything.
Well, they
You have
keep
like
it.
a way
It
to
goes.
pee, don't you?
Pardon me. What do you say again?
Pee, right? Right, like through a tube. You
No
can
way, man.
pee. Can't you
No,
go pee through the tube?
nah, you're only up there for a couple hours at a time. No, it's not like those combat
Okay,
missions that
okay.
that they fly and do tanker
Yeah,
refueling from
refuels.
tankers. But no, so got ready, got in the aircraft, the F4E, and that was exciting enough. And we took off. The afterburners didn't light, and the mandate is if the afterburner doesn't light just before takeoff, then you abort. But my pilot, Major John Groff, said, fuck it, let's just get out there. And we took off. And so we flew for about 5 minutes. And I thought, hey,
Sure.
that's going to be all the cockpit time that I get, and I would have been perfectly fine with that. So we land, and
Sure.
the CO comes out and he says to John, "Hey man, I give you one job to do, and you F it up." And then he looked at me and he says, "Hey, come back again, say in a couple weeks, and bring your camera next time." But I forgot one
Wow.
important part. That first flight was delayed by a couple of weeks because the time that I was supposed to fly, there was you remember the actor Dean Martin, one of the Rat Packers,
Yeah, I do.
with Sammy
Sure,
Davis Jr.
100%. With a
and Jerry
martini all the
Lewis
time.
and all those guys.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, his son Dean
Yep.
Paul
The Rat
Martin
Pack.
was he was a captain in the Air National Guard, and at that same unit,
Sure.
that the week I was supposed to fly, he and his backseater flew into the side of a mountain, disintegrated their aircraft. And so the CEO called me and said, "Look, let's wait about a week and let this die down." And so then that's when I went out there the following week. But being able to grab a camera, because I had just gotten I think something in the mail from J.C. Penney. It was a $1,000 card, one of those little store cards. So I went to J.C. Penney, got a Canon T90 and another lens, and then I went out to March, and the next flight I had, I took a bunch of pictures, and they were gorgeous. Modesty aside, everybody loved them, and I took those
Yeah, you just
to the Pentagon, and get someone there in National Guard Bureau started making calls to all the units, so that I started flying with a bunch of guys, and it just led to another and another. And after the F4, there was a A7, and then the F4 or the F15, F16, and then eventually I found myself at Top Gun because a friend of mine had a buddy, one of his dearest friends, who was an instructor pilot, an Air Force instructor pilot, exchange pilot at Top Gun. And so I got to fly with him in 1990 a couple of times. And then those pictures found their way to three or four star admiral up in the Pentagon. And he said, "Hey, you want to do a book?" I said, "Heck yeah." And so I got approval.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, man. Yeah. And so I got approval to fly at Top Gun for a couple of weeks, and then aboard an aircraft carrier in the F-18. And so this was, it was just a whirlwind. It was just a whirlwind of fun, Rad.
Right.
And I just, and I got
well,
better.
I mean, I saw in your book, as I was going through your book, I saw a photo of you with Val Kilmer, you know,
yeah.
friend, you know, and I mean,
yeah, he and I became.
I mean, you're all about Top Gun.
Yeah, yeah. And I saw him at the Tampa Bay Comic-Con, and it was at a time he couldn't really speak very well, but I got to tell him all about what I did at Top Gun and a little bit about my background. So he asked me to stick around, and we had a nice conversation. I really loved the guy. Wonderful, wonderful human being.
I've watched his whole documentary, his last documentary that he's just made with his son.
Yeah, on Amazon Prime. It was beautiful. Yeah, Val. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that.
It's so cool to talk to you because you actually talked to him.
Yeah, no, I did. And,
I
didn't realize he's 6 feet tall, man. He's a big guy. Yeah, he made Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise comes up to here on me or something like that. But Val Kilmer, man, that guy, I loved him.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, I would imagine because I'm about 6'5" myself. So
wow.
It's like, I wonder where Tom Cruise would come to me.
He's like down at
I'm down though. Hey, if he wants to do a movie, let's do it. I'll hang him from the side of an aircraft. I'll try.
That was crazy.
You can photograph it.
That's one thing I would not do again. I would not want to fly again. Too many things went wrong. I had some close calls with death, getting punched. I almost punched myself out of an F-16 because I used to wear this
no kidding
Minolta light meter, and it had a long cord that extended around my neck and down about 1.5 feet, 2 feet. And we were doing some maneuvers and then pulling G's, and somehow I got pushed down over the ejection seat handle. The Minolta light meter looped around the ejection seat handle, and when I jerked back up, it pulled the handle 1 detent. There are two. The first one is to get your attention, And the second one, well, you're going to be the
Is to throw you out.
pulling 30 G's, and you're going to be exiting the aircraft unceremoniously. So that was one.
Yeah, and that was an F-16, right?
Yeah, F-16. So I made some mistakes
Yeah.
that nearly killed me, but I had the wherewithal not to do too many stupid things. We run out of oxygen when I was flying at Top Gun. It was routine in the F-14 that the oxygen would run out. And so we'd be up there like 30, 35,000 feet. The oxygen goes out. I say, hey, talk to my pilot. I said, hey, man, can't breathe back here. He said, oh, okay. So we do a split S and just kind of go down and down until we get down to about 15,000 feet. Oh, can you breathe again? The Navy, they're so casual.
And this is all from you being a civilian scientist photographer now, right? That's what we're talking about here.
I was a scientist at the time.
You're rolling with these guys. You have not enlisted. You have not been enlisted in the military. You are now. You are a military brat.
That's right. Air Force,
has traveled with his father.
Yeah.
Air Force. Okay. And like me, I was a military brat. My dad being a Green Beret. Yeah. Right. Army. So we have that, and then Army, and then. At 30 some odd years old, how old did you decide to finally enlist in the military? And what the hell was it that you needed any further?
Well, for one, it goes back to ninth grade when I was 15. I made a list, and my brother used to make a list of everything, and he fulfilled all of his goals. Was really, really cool guy. So I made a list of a life plan, things that I would do. So I was going to be a marine biologist because I read the book Jaws and then saw the movie. I wanted to be a Matt Hooper in the movie, not the book, because he got eaten in the book. And be a neurobiologist, a brain biologist. I didn't know the term back then because I wanted to find out what made me so weird and funky and geeky. And then my dad used to send, when he was in Vietnam, he used to send me these Stars and Stripes articles about the 75th Rangers, long range reconnaissance and patrol guys. And I said, I want to do that.
LRPs. Yeah,
that's right. LRPs. I want to do that.
LRPing.
And so I just went through over the years and checked the blocks. And then after that, of course, I had read Dogs of War by Frederick Forsyth. And I said, I want to do some kind of merc work, but I want to help people in some way. I don't want to go out there and kill a bunch of guys like in the book. So I had those. So I had those 4 bullets, and I just checked the block. The first one, marine biology check, neurobiology check, and Rangers at age 35 check, and then did merc work after that. And then by the time I hit almost age 53, I was still hunting poachers in Africa, and I said, maybe it's time to quit. So I just.
Wow. So hunt poachers for the rhinoceroses tusks and the elephants tusks and all that, just poachers in general, right?
Yeah. The poachers, they'd have these small camps, and they usually had only 2 or 3 people per camp. And they would march out for days and days. They collect as much as they possibly could. Then they had their buddies come in trucks and haul the booty away. And so I'd go get those guys before they did too much damage.
Yeah. Wow. And there's a show about that.
Oh, there've been a few. In Africa, it's just about anything is fair game, and that's really, really sad because I spent a lot of time with animals. I was followed around by hyenas, and I'm not talking about those Discovery Channel / Nat Geo hyenas that come up to maybe here. My matriarch was way up here. She was a big girl.
Wow.
And she was at my 9 o'clock position,
Lion King
10
style.
Meters. Big baby. And so they followed me on 10 missions, and they were the cleanup crew.
Oh, wow.
Because those poachers.
For sure, dude.
Yeah,
why not? Call the wolf. Pulp Fiction style. Get some hyenas up in here.
Yep, we got them. And I had
that
was a wonder of the world, man, being around those animals that saw me as an alpha male on an African savannah and in a delta in southern Botswana. I'd never thought something like that would happen because I'd been around lots of sharks. I've spent thousands of hours underwater, mostly on scuba with different species of shark.
Yeah, marine biology.
Yeah, marine biologist, and So I knew how sharks reacted to me because back at that time I was at Scripps Institution of Oceanography, and we measured electric fields around humans. And we found that my electric field was so unusual, it was about 4 to 5 times the magnitude of anybody else's. And I'm talking anybody. So there's something going on with my chemistry that the hyenas certainly picked up on. Sharks picked up on it. I was never around a white shark, but big, huge hammerheads and makos, and they always...
Maybe it's just your confidence.
No, it's more to it than that, man. I don't know what it is.
You
It's
know,
something otherworldly. Because there have been some times,
you know, you just belong there.
Yeah, I feel like I did.
It's a past life of a mammal or something.
It could have been, or a fish. Who knows? So I had a great time.
Yeah, really. Well, I mean,
I had a great time doing all that.
So going through the Army.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going from the Army to poaching, going after poachers. When you went to the Army and you went through boot camp and you get through that aspect of, you know, your initial drill, did you get pulled into the Rangers? Did you go in with a Ranger contract at 30?
I had a Ranger contract. I got a Ranger contract that would ensure that I went to a Ranger battalion, provided I passed RIP, which was the Ranger Indoctrination Program. Nowadays, I think it's called RASP, Ranger Assessment Program. And so we start off with RIP. I mean, I went to basic and then advanced and then airborne school, of course. And then after that was RIP. Mm-hmm. And we started off with 150 tough kids. And there were couple of linebackers from University of Texas and Oklahoma, and the starting linebackers who were there who wanted to become Rangers. And all those guys washed out.
Sure.
We started with 150, got down to 75, and I was number 2. Right behind this little Vietnamese guy who could run about a 6-minute 2-mile. I mean, he ran like a tornado.
Uh-huh.
So
quick.
So I knew that I was meant for this. I was good at it, and I learned very, very quickly. And I watched everybody around me make lots of mistakes, and I just made sure I didn't make those same mistakes. I had the poise of, again, a 35-year-old man, because I wasn't some 18-year-old kid who was easily brainwashed and easily manipulated and handled by the drill sergeants and by the RIP instructors, and later on the NCOs and officers at my Ranger Battalion at 175, 1st Ranger Battalion. So I went in as a middle-aged man with enough wisdom and experience not to buy into the BS, and to just listen really, really well, be respectful, do my job. And these guys let me get away with murder. I was initially a rifleman and a grenadier and then a machine gunner. But my first sergeant and CEO, I went through several of them. They allowed me to work out with the snipers, with mortar guys, with the AT, the anti-tank guys. I got to be under the guise of photography, doing photographs for a book. And so I got to do things that no other Ranger did. And I got these skills that are unheard of, because Rangers go in and they learn a few skills at duty positions like a machine gunner, like a rifleman, and they become a team leader and they learn small unit tactics and leadership. But I hit every single duty station just because I said I wanted to photograph for a book. But I worked out with these guys.
Take photos of it, yeah.
Yeah, I did that. But I was also learning. I was also learning all the sniper rifles, the Barrett and the M24, the 7.62,
exactly,
and then the AT4 with the AT guys and the Law. I knew that I was going to do some kind of merc work afterwards, so I got in as much training as a Ranger as I possibly could. I also got into a lot of trouble,
right?
Because as a 35-year-old, it was a war college, man. Yeah, I got into.
That's what I say.
It is, yeah, and it was like getting a PhD in warfare and in small unit tactics and just general Ranger and doing basic special operations. Yeah, I could not have paid any amount of money to have gotten gained the knowledge and experience that I got when I was a Ranger. And all those guys, these kids were half my age, literally, and they were my mentors and my teachers and my professors.
Sure.
So man, what
Sure.
a what
And
a time.
when I went through the Air Force, I met a 17-year-old, and I was 21, and I became grandpa right away at 21. I was like,
That's funny.
grandpa.
Yeah, no one ever called me grandpa or dad or anything like that because I looked exactly like him. Yeah, I had the same, clear
Right.
skin. I was slender. I was very super strong, and you couldn't tell the difference between me and an 18-year-old guy, except maybe that electric field
I tell
effect.
you,
So,
between me and 60 guys, I was the oldest one. I was like,
are
geez.
you serious? Oh yeah. Well, at Air Force, yeah, Air
Yeah,
Force.
yeah. And then another guy got pulled into our flight, and he was 36 from Chicago, so he took over the title of grandpa.
36.
There you go.
What'd you do in the Air Force, bro?
Yeah.
What did you do in the Air Force?
Not much. I got a direct. Some people say, what direction did the military give you? And mine gave me a U-turn to come back and start over again. So
Okay,
I
that's
went
cool.
through a medical, an ACL injury, and I just U-turned back, and now I do war games now. And
I know, man. I read about that, and you
know.
told me a little bit. That's fun stuff. It's fun.
Yeah,
even though
it
I've
is.
already
And
been
I
through
work
that.
with veterans.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I work with guys, sometimes going to the range is cool, but there's that moment of stupidity where you can just do something dumb with a real firearm, right? We hear about it, and suicide awareness is a big deal with us. And so if you come out and play war games, you still get that camaraderie. You still get that, like, hey, I'm going to move to the right flank. Okay, cool. Well, at least we're going to go home later. You can't shoot me in the back.
Yeah.
Like you can, but you can't.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So everybody gets to go home, and it's a good pill to swallow if you want to look for somebody to hang out with. You just look up the local airsoft community in your area, and you'll find something. Yeah, for sure.
I'd like to do that because I do miss the camaraderie of Ranger Battalion, my Ranger company, Charlie Company, Hard Rock Charlie.
Sure.
And it's something that you only experience once in your life, and I knew that I was going to be there only for a few years, for the 4 years, and then move on. So I wanted to absorb as much of it as I possibly could and pay attention to every detail along the way, as opposed to taking things for granted, which is what most people do, respectfully. So I paid attention, and I savored, and I smelled the roses along the way, and took as much as I possibly could. And I've got some great memories, not to mention lessons learned, great experience. And even though I'm not doing those overseas missions like I did afterward, I did over 230. I still have those lessons learned, especially the discipline and just sucking it up. Because when I first got there, man, I didn't do it out loud, but I was whining and bitching and moaning.
Yeah,
and
you're just compartmentalizing it internally.
I did, because I did not want to be that guy. But yeah, sometimes it came out, and I looked like a little sissy. So I'm
really proud of you getting through that at what is known as an older age of 35, quote unquote.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you proved everybody just like, what's up?
Yeah, and and it wasn't because I wanted to prove anything at all. That's just what I did. This is something I wanted to do, and I did it. And the fact is, it was at an age that you should have known better. All my friends who were 35 saying, there's something wrong with you, boy. There is something very, very wrong. You got lots of loose change, loose screws, a lot of missing parts up there in that head of yours. So I'm glad I did it, though. No regrets. And the work that I did afterward was very rewarding too, escorting people out of hostile territories, and that was for the most part.
Right.
And got to learn a lot about civilian special operations. Got to learn a lot about, because I saw Chinese and Mossad and CIA everywhere I went. These guys, there's all kinds of shenanigans going on. And if you just pay attention a little bit, you can spot these guys, because even out of uniform, they're still in uniform.
Yeah, you're just making sense. I mean, you have a little bit more of a lens over your eye for seeing certain things, right?
Oh yeah,
so,
you just pick it up.
Where I may just smile and nod, you're like, bro, just not your war right now, Rad. Just keep walking.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm glad I did all that, and I'm glad I'm not doing it anymore, because now I just ghostwrite and edit books, mostly edit and produce books, like this Top Gun book, which is a labor of love. That took 30 years to do, because the first book I did was a coffee table book called Top Gun Miramar, and that was the end result of my having flown at Top Gun and aboard an aircraft carrier, the USS Ranger, the Ranger, and even
So
before,
cool.
just before I reported for duty as a Ranger. So I wasn't really happy with that first book. With all due respect to the London publishing company, they did the best they could, and it was a nice coffee table book. Sold 20,000 copies, and just to give you a little perspective, one of the authors I work with was the guy who wrote Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons, Dan Brown. And before the Da Vinci Code came out, he had done Deception Point and Angels and Demons, and I edited both of those. He sold about 2,000 copies of Angels and Demons before the Da Vinci Code took off. And so I was really happy, because I beat him by about 18,000, because my first book sold about 20,000.
Sure.
But I didn't quite reach the heights of the Da Vinci Code, though, even though I had a hand
Da Vinci.
in editing that book, and had a great time working with Dan Brown.
And is this the same book, Da Vinci Code, that got turned into a movie with
Yes.
Tom Hanks? Is that the same?
Yeah. Dan Brown was kind of pissed off at my edits, and I won't get into reason why, but the director, I guess it was Ron Howard, and his production company, they liked my edits, and they used some of those in the movie, I heard.
Sure.
Yeah. So,
well, there you go. That's really cool that you have your hand in that.
Yeah, I don't, and again, I don't even pay attention to it. I just do something. I mean, try to design it, build it, then do it, and then move on to the next thing. And it takes me about 30 years to go back and say, oh, I did that. Really? I did that. And then this, I did that. I don't remember that. I really don't. And that's why I said the latest coffee table book, it's a 500-page coffee table book, Top Gun. And I present it to 10-year-olds everywhere, because when I was 10 years old, that's about the time when I really developed my passion for military aviation. And so I'm trying to turn on 10-year-olds out there everywhere. Hey, go out and be a fighter pilot. Now, the bitter irony probably is going to be, when they come of fighter pilot age to go to, I don't know, Air Force Academy, Naval Academy, and then go on to flight school after that, we're probably going to be flying exclusively drones, and there probably won't even be any pilots.
I was just going to say,
that's kind of sad. Nonetheless.
Oh yeah, I've got a good friend going through drone training. Yeah, now. That's he's I think he's about 20, 21.
Yeah,
finishing his college. Did a little internship with the senator here locally, and now he's off to drone school. He's like, I'm going to be a pilot, Rad. Yeah. And I was like, what are you going to fly? He's like, drones.
Yeah, man, that is so far detached.
He's like, big gulps
and
joysticks.
That's right. Those guys kill me.
Xbox controller coming at you.
Yep. Hey, where they have a lot of those drones, that's Creech Air Force Base in Nevada, named after a friend of mine, one of my dad's bosses, because I knew all those old fighter pilots. But anyway, so you asked about afterward. So editing books, producing those, and the Top Gun book. I was getting at, it's for 10-year-olds. I want to turn on 10-year-olds. So I've got a lot of different chapters. In fact, one chapter, you probably saw, was written by a 10-year-old student pilot, Caleb Schneider.
Yeah, I couldn't even. I saw that. I did.
Yeah.
I did.
And I couldn't think of an appropriate chapter name, and so I did a play on words from the afterward and the forward, and I called his the boy word, WORD. And so
that's what it was.
Yep, this 10-year-old boy wrote a chapter for this really cool coffee table book. And then I got a retired Air Force Lieutenant General, an old friend of mine, to write another chapter. And I got this really cool neuropsychologist, to do what's called the foreword, but he titled it "The Fighter Pilot Personality," and I hadn't seen that anywhere. I think there's a couple of articles out there in the World Wide Web about it, but this guy did such a beautiful job explaining what fighter pilots are made of, how they're made, and using just three main traits: histrionics, compulsion, and narcissism. Those three traits he contends make up the fighter pilot. And so he wrote that.
Is he the one that said, was his quote the one that said a fighter pilot has great skills that a fighter pilot doesn't want to have to use his great skills?
Exactly. Yeah.
Let me see
yes.
if I can find
Yeah,
that
it is.
quote.
It's to that effect.
You know,
exactly.
There's a quote similar to that.
Yeah. He says, fighter pilots
they
use superior flying skills so that they don't have to use superior flying skills. Yeah, that's in his foreword.
That's what it was.
And then I also got the son. I got the son. Thank you. Yeah, I got the son of that Air Force 3-star general to write the afterword. And this young guy, his call sign is Ghost. He's an F-22 pilot. So he wrote a really, really cool afterword to it. And he sent me some wonderful patches of his, and I included those in there, and a couple of really, really wonderful pictures too. So for the 10-year-olds, I also...
It really is a wonderful book.
Thank you. Much appreciated. I also included a series of scrapbooks at the end, because that's what kids love. I love those. I love collecting patches and awards, decorations, medals. And I have a huge collection of medals, including a lot of medals of honor too, dating back to the Civil War.
Oh, wow.
And so I included the scrapbooks and have a lot of fun pictures of me and and the fighter pilots and other people, beautiful women at Miramar. Remember the movie? They had the at NAS Miramar, the Officers Club. They had that party, really, really fun party where Tom Cruise and Anthony Edwards were singing "You've Lost That You Lovin' Feelin'." Yeah, well, I lived every minute of that movie, including Miramar O Club on Wednesday nights when it was still at Miramar. Now it's Marine Corps Air Station. And there is no more formal Top Gun, except I think a derivative of it out at Fallon in Nevada.
I see.
NAS Fallon. But man, that was just so much fun. So scrapbooks for the kids, and I also have a tribute to some of my heroes from World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And I have some paintings of those guys. I included some of their top decorations and medals, like Medals of Honor and Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Star, Bronze Star. Just kind of dress it up. And it just, to me, that appealed to the 10-year-old in me. So I pray that it'll attract 10-year-olds everywhere. I don't know if they're going to be able to afford the book, but hey, they've got an in with mom and dad. So
that's what their mom and dads are listening for. Yeah, that's the ones that. So tell me something. So is the book now? I'm fortunate to be able to see a copy of it. You advanced it over to me to take a look at it.
Yeah.
Where would anyone else find a copy, or how can we help? What's going on with that book? Where's Top Gun at? How do we get it?
I'm not quite done with the production yet, but I'm going to be raising money through several different venues like Kickstarter, IndieGoGo, Patreon, and so we'll see how that goes. So I'll keep in touch with you and the guys and let people know when they hopefully will become supporters of those campaigns, so I can get them printed. A book like this, a 500-page coffee table book, 8.5 by 11 inches high, 8.5 wide. I mean, it's like like 3 inches thick, real super high quality paper. It'll be the highest quality coffee table book you can get anywhere. So those things will cost about $30 to $40 each just to produce. And so that's why I need the assistance of other people. I want to print thousands of copies and then sell those on Barnes and Noble and Amazon. And who knows, maybe on SOFREP.com too.
Hey, if there's a publishing house out there listening right now that's interested in helping, Dino get off the ground, I'm sure he's down to be reached out to. So
Thank you.
you
But
know,
here's the good news. I
yeah.
own 2 small publishing companies, and I've had those for over 20
Oh,
years.
so it's yourself.
So I've done a lot. Yeah. Other people call it, when they want to slam me and slander me, they say, "Oh, you're self-published." Well, I say, "Well, F you," because I've had those for years, and I publish the work of other
Yeah.
people too. So I'm fortunate enough to
No, that's
be
good.
able to take care of the entire production myself. The only thing I don't do is print the books that I produce. So I'm very, very
Sure.
fortunate there.
Sure.
The only thing I need to do is raise money for printing the books. And I'm going to have some really, really beautiful
I
gifts.
see. Yeah, because it's going to be. I mean, and the photos that I've seen already of like the F-15 Strike Eagle just climbing and soaring up into the sky, and the underbelly of the F-16, with its fully loaded armament,
man.
that's like
Yeah.
ready.
Live missiles too.
It's fully loaded.
Yep.
It's
You never see that.
Iron Eagle at its finest.
Iron Eagle. I remember those guys. Chappie. Yeah. Yeah. So you have beautiful pictures.
Chappie. I got to get my dad out, bro.
And if you look, I know you looked at the book, but I came up with one of a kind selfies, and I was able to do it against all the naysayers, because they said when you start pulling 8 and 9 Gs, you can't have any kind of grip to mount the camera on. And I said, well, you guys clearly flunked physics in high school, because not only did I do it, but I was able to do it under beautiful conditions, especially with the sun and lighting, that produced some super dramatic shots that no one else has been able to recreate. And that's something that I discovered about myself, and I didn't know beforehand, that I was actually pretty decent at this. The lighting is stunning, the composition really, really beautiful, and I really, really enjoyed it. And again, that's where I taught myself photography, in the backseat of a high-performance jet. And I think what made it even more, wasn't it wild? What made it really interesting is that when you compare, say, a studio photographer. I did studio photography for off and on for 9 years after that, and I photographed high-end jewelry and breast implants by Mentor, and made them look like jewelry. But beforehand, I went to a couple of photo studios, and I saw what guys did. They could spend all day on one shot. Well, I often had maybe 8 seconds for a shot under high G, under wearing 30 pounds of gear, sweating my balls off, and being uncomfortable, even though it's an orgasmic kind of discomfort, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I had to do that studio kind of photography with beautiful lighting and composition, and fire off about 6 frames per second, because we didn't have digital back then, and do it all under those stressors. And I found that I could do the harder the stress was, the more you dialed it up, the discomfort, the better I got. But my biggest lament is I only got to do every shot one time, because you couldn't go back and do anything, repeat stuff. Everything was just one of a kind.
Right.
And I didn't always get to fly. I would fly every maybe few months or 6 months. You
needed to take advantage of each opportunity.
Absolutely had to. And of course, I would take 100 rolls of film. Yeah, but here's something I never told anybody. I was aboard the USS Ranger, flying FA-18s, doing cap traps. And on the first one and the second one too, I repeated my mistake. I had 100 rolls of film that I left on the aircraft carrier when I took off in the F-18s. So I didn't get any cool shots of the FA-18s. It was, you make that kind of mistake in the studio. People do that. You make stupid stuff. You do stupid stuff, and you make silly mistakes. And I share that with you, because when you have a one-of-a-kind photo shoot like I did, and every one of mine was one of a kind, and you screw it up, there's no going back.
Yes.
You can't repeat it. So I really, it's a regret, but it was a good lesson learned, that even when I was really, really excited to step to the jet, I I needed to go through my checklist, just like I did with my pilots in the back seat, for safety check and to run up the jets. I needed to do that on my own, and sometimes I forgot, or I was just too excited, and I skipped a few steps. So leaving behind the film,
Sure.
when I was flying in an FA-18,
Like 100 rolls of film.
I had 100. I had 100 rolls of Fuji 35
Yeah.
millimeter color film, and well, I
Sure.
don't have anything to show for it
Green
except
box,
stupidity.
green and white box. Yeah.
I got nothing to show for it, brother, except
Oh yeah, I shot a Canon. I think. Oh yeah.
and,
Yeah, I shot a Canon, the Andre Agassi model back in the day.
was it a T90
The
or an
Rebel.
EOS? Oh, the Rebel. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it was an EOS. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I got the EOS 1, but
Yeah,
thank
that
goodness.
was pretty expensive. I was a senior in high school. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, those are like
to get that.
800, 900 bucks back then. Back in the day, 92.
Well, my dad's like, "Hey, you like photography, son?" And I said, "I do." And he's like, "Well, let's
You
get
better
this for your
save.
school. You're taking a photography class." And,
Cool.
yeah, and he would take me out to this place called Willard Bay here. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I know where some eagles are at. So we would go out and try
Oh, that's
to
beautiful.
take the pictures of the eagles up in the trees. And so I get to travel around and take photographs and work with photographers and talk to guys like you who have, inspiring stories. And when I see, when I do concert photography, I'm
Yes.
always like refreshing myself, which is like a basic tutorial of lighting. I'm like,
Yes,
okay, I got to do these
exactly.
guys on the stage. It's like, did I forget f-stop goes up or goes down? And I just refresh myself every time. So
Yeah. But at least you get second chances there. Yeah, I
so
accompanied.
true.
Yeah. So you've done a lot of really interesting things yourself. I know you do the airsoft stuff, but you've been an actor too. Yes.
Yes, I have. Yeah, I still pursue it. And I was in Firestarter for Stephen King.
I saw
And
that.
I play Andy McGee for the sci-fi series on Sci-Fi Channel. And
Cool.
that was shot here in Utah. And I was
Yeah.
blessed to get the part. I auditioned for it and I was in acting classes, just always working on the craft and just
Yes.
working in a gym environment for it. And
Yes.
just I'm ready. Like I was like, put me in the game, coach. I'm ready to go. And
Good for you.
I got cast, got the part, and
Mhm.
there was other ones as well. Then 9/11 happened, and that
Yes.
kind of shut down what was going on due to explosions. And they actually pushed my series back. And then I was the reoccurring father in all the flash. You'd have to go watch it. Go watch a Firestarter.
Yes.
I won't say much more. I need some residuals, but go ahead and.
I know those
So if
royalties,
you watch
man.
it was going to be a regular series.
Yes.
Yeah, Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Danny Nucci from Titanic
Seriously?
with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Marguerite Moreau. So it's cool. Yeah, I've done some things, and I get to like go around for SOFREP to England and host the SAS versus Navy SEALs Delta Force veteran boxing matches.
Yeah.
I get to do exactly that, and I've done that many years in a row. And then we went through this pandemic, and that kind of everything's been on tilt, right?
Yes.
The world's on tilt. I just started traveling recently, so I've been to New York and down to Vegas and doing some SHOT Show stuff. For the business and repping SOFREP. So it's good to see everything getting back. The concerts are coming back. That's what I'm happy about. I'm getting ready to go over to London in June to go see a friend of mine play some shows. So
beautiful.
I'm
You're having a good old
so
time. Hey
excited,
man, can I be your bodyguard? I want to be your bodyguard. I will carry
immediately.
I will carry your camera bag and be your bodyguard. I come cheap too.
Yeah, because I got one. I do got a camera. Here's see, I got some tripod equipment here for photography. I'm down.
I'll carry all that stuff. I miss that traveling.
I got you. Go. I'm gonna probably take my wife. We're gonna go over to London together, and
London's fun.
That's fine. No, that's fine. We're gonna go to the Tower of London. I got a friend over there, Big Phil. I'm gonna give him a shout out. Big Phil. He's on Force Radio HQ over there, and he's like, "Hey, mate, you come over here. You got to bring a collar and a shirt with a tie, because we got to take him to the Tower of London." So we're gonna go check that out if that's all good to go.
Oh yeah, and
That's for
hit
sure.
every pub in London.
Oh
Hit
yeah,
every.
exactly. And I just wish there was some snowboarding over there, because that's my jam, right?
You got to go
You
to
should come do that
Scotland.
with me anytime.
Oh, that
You
I'd
come to
love.
Utah, and we'll
Yes.
go up to Snowbird, bro.
Well, I do
Where the
nowadays.
2 Blackhawks just crashed.
Oh man, I don't even want to hear about that. That's heartbreaking. I know that breaks my heart.
Well, they were picking up some SF guys on the mountain,
Oh,
and one of them got too low to the curve of the mountain, right next to the ski lift going up, just
yeah.
like 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
So, and then so once it hit the ground, it broke its rotor, and it
yeah.
shot up and hit the other Blackhawk, which dropped it onto the ground. Everybody lived, but the SF guys were the first ones on the scene, right?
Yeah.
And then they pulled it out with a Chinook maybe last Wednesday.
Mhm.
So they just finally pulled them off the mountain, but everybody survived.
I'm glad to hear
the
that.
positive out of that.
Yes. Yeah.
It would have been cool to like snowboard off of the, the tail or the rotors, though. I just was like, can they leave it and we'll just hit it?
You're killing me, man. Well, I was going to say, now that I have so much time on my hands these days, I do a lot of road trips, and around the country. Just drive. Love driving. Down to the Keys, or Miami, South Beach, or up to Savannah, Georgia, where I was stationed as a ranger, and up to Virginia Beach. Lots of fun places. So, gonna come out to Utah, and we're gonna hang, and you can tell me some more of those fun stories. Since the interview is not about you today, but I wish it were, because I think you got a lot of really cool things to talk about.
Yeah, I've been around the world once or twice, and it's a fun time. And I just think that I'm happy that I'm happy Brandon of SOFREP, Brandon Webb.
Yes, Brandon
he's an avid pilot, bro, and he's always taking pictures. He's always taking pictures in the back of his little RV6 or his little time machine, flying around the Statue of Liberty. And
I didn't know that.
I'm always so jelly because I want to.
Yeah,
I want to ride in it, but I'm just so big.
Rad is
so
jello.
Big dude. I just like. Yes, I'm so jelly, but whenever he'll fly. Yeah, he doesn't even have a car; he just flies. He just flies.
I love that.
He had a Yak 52. I don't know if he still has
a Russian. You mean the Russian Yak?
He fly. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Go follow Brandon T. Webb's Instagram account, and you'll see him doing like multiple maneuvers with other Yak flyers.
That's when a lot of the old guys get killed, because they start messing around with that fun stuff up there in 3 dimensions, and they're having entirely too much fun. And then you read their obituary. Yeah, Pappy Boynton.
I got this.
I hope
Black Sheep Squadron, bro.
Oh man, I got to add him to that chapter of my heroes. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I want to add a Marine Corps guy to the World War II section of my heroes in the book. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
But
awesome.
So the book, get that thing printed. I just hope I can get this printed. The first, say, 1,000 copies.
Sure.
I'm just hoping for that. All the other books that I've done over the years, when I published them through my companies, they were black and white paperback, and so they were easy to produce and just easy to print. But this thing is a huge challenge. So I'm asking the world for some grand assistance here. I hope that comes through. I pray
for the stars to align. Well,
that's right.
You've got SOFREP behind you. We're behind you. I'm totally stoked to have gotten to know you, and the discovery on our chat here has just been wonderful. And I know we've been going for about an hour, and I want to thank you for participating and connecting with me and going back and forth with our emails to say, hey, let's get together. And I would love to have you back on as a reoccurring. You have so many things that we could get into, like just airborne.
Hey man, I know we can talk about. Let's talk about flat Mother Earth and how many times I've proved that the Earth is flat.
Oh yeah, right. Oh yeah, because you have ways to show that mountains are really flat.
And and I got just an incidental story when I was aboard a couple of aircraft carriers and a destroyer. They have
Yeah.
these long range
So
telescopes
cool.
that can see over the horizon. 'Cause, the horizon doesn't exist anyway, but they can see
Right, of
over
course.
100 miles out and see another ship that may only be about 6-8 feet tall, small vessel. So on a spherical Earth, you couldn't possibly do that because the other ship would be at the end of the curve or beyond the curve. But since the Earth is flat, you can actually see stuff like that. And I love talking. And since I've flown to Africa many times and to Dubai and UAE, 18-hour flights. I get to sit up in the cockpit and talk to the pilots, and we talk about flying straight and level, never dipping the nose to go to follow a curvature of the Earth.
Like, where does it end?
Yeah, man. So it's
Crazy.
I'd love to talk about that because that's where I lose people, and I have even. I was trained in physics and electrical engineering and applied to biology. I was a biophysicist. I get calls from guys.
So would you say?
Go ahead.
So would you say that mountains on the Earth are just a part of its flat shelf?
Yeah.
Versus, like, because when someone says, "Hey, the Earth is flat," I say, "Well, look at my mountains. Like, you have to go over them, right? Not quite flat."
Yeah,
but if you're looking from an aggregated level up above, right?
Yeah.
Then you're just thinking it's like a shelf.
Yeah, just a shelf.
The Earth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Would there be
flat
water falling down on both sides?
No, man. We're surrounded by.
What about the water?
Antarctic. We're the circumference is the Antarctic seawall, or a wall. That's what Antarctica really is. It's a circumference. It just goes all the way around. So that's a story.
I stopped eating bacon that I was force fed when I was little, and I guess I can change my ways of thinking at an older age as well. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you're changing my mind.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to when you see things that are proven to you. You can't deny them unless you just want to keep your head in the sand. So I've written some books about this stuff and try to educate people about what's really going on and who really runs the world, stuff like that. That's where I lose people because nobody wants
that's a whole other conversation.
It is, and because nobody wants their worldview challenged. And I tend to do that, and it's not because I want to. I'm just curious about the world, and I'm a trained scientist and researcher, and so I just like looking into these things, and I come up with stuff and go.
You can ask questions.
Yeah, just questions. So anyway,
question authority. You can question anything
all the time, man. I don't fuck authority.
Yeah, you can be punk rock. See that right there?
That's
you can be punk rock, bro.
That's right, man. Somebody says no.
I'm okay.
Dude, when somebody says no,
that's a great conversation for my chairlift podcast.
There we go. Yeah, I'll be on that too. But anyway, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and I've had a wonderful time meeting you and listening to some of your stories. So let's do it again sometime.
Thank you. Yeah, we will. And with that said, I just want to thank the guys that keep my lights on, SOFREP Radio, SOFREP.com. Thanks a lot for believing in me to hang out and talk with Dino tonight. So big shout out to SOFREP.com and to you, my listener. I thank you so much. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to ask a question of Dino, and there's a place that you can post it up on this on YouTube, because that's where we're going to be at, and on SOFREP.com, feel free to do so. We'll check them. And I just want to say thanks again to my guest, Dino Garner, and his book that's going to be coming out, TOPGUN. And 500, right? Isn't that what it is?
500-page coffee table book, brother.
That's what's up. We'll be looking for that. You can check that probably later on SOFREP.com. My name is Rad, so I'm going to say peace.
Brother.